Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Lynn Lowdown. I'm Dani Vittori, and today we have on the police chief, Chris Reddy. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So I'll start off by asking, you said a big piece of why you wanted to come on here today was community engagement, really connecting with the community. Did you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, and in a couple of different ways. I think that in recent months we've had a lot going on in the community, particularly in the area of violent crime. And I think that has caused a lot of members of our community to feel increased anxiety and fear and wondering what's going on. And so I wanted to speak to those things. Not only what's happened, but also what we're doing about it. We recently had several significant shooting incidents, and which resulted in people losing their life, and that's traumatic, certainly for the individuals who suffer gun violence and their families, but also for the community at large. We understand that crime occurs, and that causes people to feel harmed, but also other people who just witness that through the media or word of mouth can be traumatized as well. So we're aware of that. We're working on those things. The recent incidents that we've experienced are largely a reflection of the prevalence of illegal guns and the gun violence problem that we're experiencing in urban communities across the nation. We are working really aggressively to address those issues. Our office has done, I think, some fantastic work. I'm happy to say that the number of incidents of shots fired in our community so far to date is down this year, 2023, as compared to 2022. Our officers have seized over 36 firearms, and they continue to do really good work in that area. A lot of the violent crime that we're experiencing has been gang involved or otherwise involved in that particular issue, which is a sort of a growing problem, gang involvement in our community, as well as in other communities in this county. We have added additional personnel to our gang unit. They're working really hard, not only on the enforcement end, but also they're engaging with our partners at LISOA and ROCA to address at-risk youth and do outreach and to inform their families if they see kids who are engaged in that activity, and to try to make their families aware so they can steer towards a better path. In addition, we're working with the State Police Gang Unit. They have a regular presence in our community in recent months, and that's going to continue. They've been tremendous partners. And we have also strengthened our partnerships with the federal law enforcement agencies, and there's really good work going on there. So we're approaching it from multiple fronts, and I just want the community to know that I think that the investigators are doing tremendous work, and up until this recent spat of incidents, we had not had a single homicide until late August, which is really a good result.
Mm-hmm. And another thing you talked about is you're expanding to have different specialists, like the addition of the BHIP was a pretty significant addition for the community. Yeah.
So we've had a behavioral health unit for a number of years, and they've become an integral part of our operations. There's a great interaction between our officers and the clinicians who work in the behavioral health unit and the recovery coaches. They go to them all the time to share information about someone they think might benefit from services, to provide referrals or to get advice. That's worked really well, and we expect it to continue. It's a really important part of our operations. But just in June, we went full online with the new program called the Behavioral Health Intervention Program. And that's a unit that is funded by the Department of Mental Health. It's made up of a clinician, a recovery coach or peer recovery coach, and an EMT paramedic. And they co-respond with our officers to incidents involving mental health or substance use so that they can bring those services directly into the community. In some situations, they're able to bring that individual to Elliott's community-based healthcare office on Pleasant Street. So that reduces the burden on emergency departments, which is a significant problem in this area. It also connects people who live in our community and are present in our community directly to the services that can help them get onto a path of health and recovery. So I think it's been really well received, and I think it's great to be able to bring specialists with their specific skill set out into the community, working with our offices. We can back out and they can engage with the people so that we're not tying up police services any longer than necessary. We're there if there's a need for a security presence, if people are being combative. But if they're cooperative, then we can just let them engage with that person, and then they can take it from there to connect them to long-term services.
And that ties into the other piece of educating the community, prevention, really going along that end as well, because that also helps you.
Yeah, I think, in multiple ways, I think we're a resource to educate people about various crime trends and things that we're experiencing or that we're getting word about from our partners, so that they can protect themselves. But also about the resources that we have, that, we have this behavioral health resource and other resources. And it's an area we have to continue to speak to and spread the word about, because, it's an ongoing need, and there are people in the community who may not have been aware of it before. So every step we can do to educate people, that's the better. And I would also want to add, we try to do that not only through formal things like this and some things we do on our social media and our webpage and other formats, but we're really committed to community engagement on the one-to-one level too with our officers, and that's a way to spread word to the community about what we can do to support them in a variety of ways. You're probably familiar with the Central Business District Bike Unit. It's been really well received. They do great work. They're focused on solving problems in the downtown area, working with residents, working with businesses, working with providers to get people who connected to services, who are homeless or substance use involved or have mental illness, or to solve other quality of life problems, so that we can people can feel comfortable and safe and happy coming and going in the downtown area. Beyond that, our patrol officers participate in a range of community events, from simple neighborhood meetings up until festivals and everything in between, so that they're out on foot and you can have a conversation and you can ask them something, and they can share the knowledge of what we're able to provide and how they can connect with services. And we even have all of our special unit personnel, one day a month. They work in uniform. They spend half the day walking out in the neighborhoods, particularly in the downtown or central area of the city, and then they spend the afternoon checking hot spots.
Mm-hmm. And it also helps too, if they're available and connected, it may make people less nervous to approach you or just create a more trusting relationship.
Exactly. You overcome those barriers, and we're an immigrant community, right? So a lot of people come here from other nations where the police means something completely different. So the more we can engage with them, have a conversation, break down those barriers or the misconceptions, the more willing they are to share information about what they're experiencing, and we can then connect them with services or follow up to make sure they're not suffering abuse.
And I know another piece you wanted to talk about was crime prevention strategies, not just responding to crimes, but also trying to prevent them.
You're right. Right. So, one of the big things we're seeing in the surge of crimes is in the area of cyber risk and fraud and identity theft and things like that. So we're looking in the months ahead. Our criminal investigation division leads the charge or our response in those things. Our officers take the initial reports, but then the detectives, where they can, try to follow up. But what we know about cybercrime is that mostly it's committed by individuals far, far away. So prevention, protecting yourself, that's an area we want to share information, and we're looking to develop new programs and new foundations to be able to share that knowledge so people can keep themselves from becoming a victim of that type of crime to begin with. And beyond that, coming back to the issues in our community with language challenges and so forth, we want to be able to engage with people in their native language as much as possible. So we have an interpretation service that if we don't have an officer that speaks that language available, the officer that is there can connect right away with an interpreter service that can allow them to interact with a person who, no matter what they're experiencing, so we can understand what exactly their problem is and try to help them.
Which is a fantastic service to offer. And I know I have to wrap up in a moment, but was there anything else that I didn't cover that you wanted to make sure?
I just want the community to know that they are an integral part of our response to everything. That the information they share, we have a variety of platforms where they can share information through text to tip or liking our social media, or just by calling us. Obviously, when they call and they give us their name and they give us the facts of what's happening, that gives us an ability to respond in a more effective way. But if they're afraid to do that for a variety of reasons, we still want them to share information. When we have a crime and we ask for help with video or anything like that, when they come forward, it's tremendously helpful to us. We've seen it recently. The community has been fantastic, and I just want to really continue to encourage them to be our partner in making this community as good as it possibly can. I've lived here my whole life. My whole family's lived here. We're committed. The men and women of our department are committed. We want all Lynners to be able to enjoy this community in a safe and happy manner.
And I want to thank you again, for coming on and talk about it and really spread that message.
Thanks very much, Dani.
Great. Anytime. And once again, I'm Dani Vittori. This has been the Lynn Lowdown, and we'll see you next week with more guests.